Hello! The objective of today's video is to learn how to solve two-step equations using opposite operations. It's important you note that we're talking about using opposite operations. We're not talking about guess and check. We're talking about using a method where we use the opposite operations to get things to the other side of the equal sign to solve them. The goal in solving an equation is to get the variable alone on one side of the equal sign and everything else to the other side simplified down to one number. Use opposite operations in the opposite order of operations to get this done. So not only are we using the opposite operations, instead of adding, we're subtracting, instead of dividing, we're multiplying, or vice versa, we're also using the opposite of the order of operations. Order of operations, remember, is grouping, or P, exponents, E, multiplying and dividing, MD, grouped together, adding and subtracting, AS, the old PEMDAS stuff. We're going to go in the opposite operations. Opposite operations, opposite direction of the operation, order of operations. What does that mean? Here is the first problem we're going to try and solve. What's happening to that x? Well, the x is being multiplied by 2 and having 3 added to the result. At least that's what the order of operations tells us to do. Multiply, then add. We're going to do the opposite. And we're going to do it in the opposite order and the opposite operation. I start off by drawing some railroad tracks. Why do I call them railroad tracks? Because when you put the equal sign in here, it kind of looks like a set of railroad tracks. I do that to separate the two sides of the equation. Many times in the process of solving, the equal sign gets lost or disappears altogether. I don't want that to happen, so I draw this to make sure I keep the equal sign there. Now, instead of adding 3 at the end, I'm going to do the opposite. Instead of add 3, I'm going to subtract 3, and that's going to be the first thing I do. And I'm going to subtract 3 from the 9 there. When I do that, positive 3 minus 3 becomes plus 0, which is nothing. It disappears. 9 minus 3 gives me 6. The 2x gets brought down. The equal sign gets brought down, stays there. And now I've got 2 times x. The opposite of times is divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. When I do that, 2 over 2 is 1. 1 times x is just plain old x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. I know I've got my answer because the x is all alone on one side of the equal sign. There's a number on the other side. It's been simplified completely. There is my solution. X equals 3. Remember, we can double check it by plugging it back into the original. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 3 is indeed 9, so it does double check. Moving over here to this one. Here we're going to start off by, instead of subtracting 4, we're going to add 4 to both sides. These cancel. The 3x comes down. 11 plus 4 gives me 15. Then I would divide by the 3, and I get x is equal to 5. And that is my final answer. Double checking, 3 times 5 is 15, minus 4 does indeed give me 11. How about with dividing in there? Here I've got x over 2 plus 7 equals 5. Again, I'm going to start with a plus 7, and I'm going to do the opposite, which is minus 7. So I subtract 7 from both sides. 5 minus 7 is going to give me a negative 2. X over 2 is still here. The 7s cancel out. Now I've got x divided by 2. The opposite of dividing is multiplying. So I'm going to multiply by 2. And when I do that, these 2's cancel out. I get x on this side. Negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4. There's my answer. X equals negative 4. Double checking, negative 4 over 2 plus 7 should be equal to 5. Negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 7 does indeed give me 5. There's my double check. Going over here. Take care of the subtraction by doing the opposite. Plus 5 on both sides, because we got to do the opposite order. Instead of dividing, then subtracting, We're adding and then multiplying. Adding the 5s, these cancel. Negative x over 4 is going to be equal to 2 plus 5, which is 7. Then I need to multiply both sides by the bottom number here. I want to get rid of the negative at the same time, so I'm going to multiply by a negative 4, because negative times a negative gives me a positive. Whatever you do to one side, same thing to the other. Negative times negative positive, this side becomes just plain x. This side becomes negative 28, and there's my answer for that one. Here's the first you-do. There's going to be 2 you-dos in this one, 4 on this one, 4 on the next one. Take a moment, pause the video, give these a try, and we'll come back with the answer shortly. Welcome back. All right, let's take a look at these. First, we have negative 2x plus 3. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides. These cancel. I get negative 2x is equal to 4. Divide by negative 2, and I get x is equal to negative 2 for this one. Over here, add 10 first. These cancel. I get 5x is equal to 30. Divide both sides by 5. I get x is equal to 6. Over here, add 7 to both sides. X over 3 is then going to be equal to 11. Then I need to multiply by 3, which gives me x is equal to 33 is my answer there. Here I subtract 20 from both sides. That gives me negative x over 5 is equal to negative 5. Again, I want to multiply by a negative over here. I'm going to multiply by the negative 5 to undo the divide by 5. Same thing over here, multiply by negative 5. And I get x is equal to positive 25, because negative times a negative gives me a positive. These are two-step equations as well, but they look a little more complicated. You have to realize that there is a grouping going on here, where you have the x plus 2 is being grouped together by that fraction bar. And the grouping symbols are the first thing you do according to the order of operations. So when we see a problem like this, where the whole equation, this whole side there is over 3 or being divided by one number here, we're not going to start with the plus. We're actually going to start with taking care of that divide by first, because this is being grouped. And grouping gets taken care of last when we do the opposite order of operations. So for these, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3 to start with. 3 over here, these 3's will cancel. And I'll be left with x plus 2 is equal to 15. And then, again, I could use those railroad tracks there. Then I'm going to subtract 2. And I get x is equal to 13. 13 plus 2 is 15, divided by 3 does indeed give me 5, so it does double check. Going over to this one, we start off by multiplying both sides by 8. We get x minus 7 is equal to 16. Then we have to do the opposite of subtract 7. We add 7. We get x is equal to 23. And that is our final answer. 23 minus 7 is going to give me 16. 16 divided by 8 is indeed 2. You may also see problems like this. Again, here's some grouping. Grouping gets done first according to the order of operations, and last according to the opposite order of operations. So we need to take care of this 3 times first by dividing by 3. And that gives me x minus 2 is equal to 3. And then we do the opposite subtract. We add, and that gives us x equals 5. That's our answer. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. It does double check. Over here, we're going to divide by negative 2 first. The negative 2's will cancel. I'll end up with x plus 5 is equal to negative 3. And then I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, and that's going to give me x is equal to negative 8. Working with those, we have a couple of you-dos here. 4 more you-dos. Pause the video, give these a try. Welcome back. Start off by multiplying both sides by 2 here. We get x minus 2 is equal to 10. Then we're going to add 2 to both sides, and we get x is equal to 12. Here we start off by dividing both sides by 5. These cancel out. I get x minus 1 is equal to negative 3. Then I would add 1 to both sides, and I get x is equal to negative 2. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 times 5 does give me the negative 15. It does double check. Over here, multiply by 3. I get x plus 8 is equal to negative 12. Subtract 8 from both sides. That gives me 8 is equal to negative 20, which is my answer. Negative 20 plus 8 is going to be negative 12 divided by 3 does indeed give me negative 4. It does double check. Here, divide by negative 2. I get x minus 5 is equal to positive 4 because negative divided by negative is a positive. Then I would add 5 to both sides and I get x is equal to 9. Hopefully you got a good understanding of solving two-step equations using the opposite order of operations. I'll see you in class.